and his favorite player, Jason Kipnis. Now, for most teams, especially the Yankees, that's not too much of a problem because the Yankees have got that ridiculously short right porch. But the Indians have got a spacious ballpark, and his favorite player, Jason Kipnis, had been on a bit of a slump and hadn't hit a home run since early July. Well, here's the cool part of the story. Luckily, they were facing the Twins that night, and the Twins have playing something, but it's not baseball. I don't know what they're doing up there in Minnesota. But they both hit home runs in a 7-2 win over the Twins. And ever since this kid has been brought to games, Life Fan, he's been to 6 games this year. That team has won every game that kid has been to. And like I said, in the last game that he went to where he asked them both to hit him home runs, they both did. How cool is that? You go online, you can see a video of the kid freaking out, and then when Carlos Santana hits the home run, you can see him rounding third. He looks up to the section where Nico Lenzerata is sitting with his family, points to him, gives him, the peace sign, all that. Awesome moment. It's everything you want off sports. It's, the good guys winning, the happy story, the kid getting the game-winning ball, the kid getting his favorite player to hit a home run in his name and getting acknowledged for it on national television. This is why we watch. So do yourself a favor. Go to YouTube, read the article. So cool. Speaking of really cool, I don't cover tennis a lot. A lot of people that I talk to, they don't want to hear too much about tennis, unless it's a big story. That's fine. But cool stories and excellence need to be acknowledged, and this is one of the coolest stories. Yesterday, in the U.S. Open, 19-year-old Victoria Duval, who had advanced to the second round. Victoria Duval was born in Miami but lived in Haiti. She's a Haitian American. Has got one of the most incredible rags to riches stories I've ever heard. Growing up in Haiti at the age of 7, her family was held at gunpoint for hours as their home was robbed. So after that, they started moving the family over to America. Her father, in 2010, was in their home. There was a 7.0 rated earthquake that hit, and he was literally buried alive under the rubble. He had 2 broken legs, 7 broken ribs, a broken arm, and a punctured lung. He dug himself out of the rubble where he was spotted by a helicopter, and he was evacuated to Florida. This guy with 2 broken legs, broken ribs, and a broken arm and a punctured lung climbed out of a house that fell on him. And he's healthy. He got to watch his daughter win the first round of the U.S. Open in tennis. His only recurring injury from that is a little bit of paralysis that's developing in his arm, the one that was broken. But it's still usable, and it won't be completely paralyzed until he reaches a much older age. So, all things considered, dude's doing pretty good. And the coolest part about this story, this girl is just the most adorable, upbeat human being. It's one of those people, you listen to her talk, you just fall in love with this person. She's got the dorky goggles, she's got like an Urkel-esque voice, but she's so excited and enthusiastic. Oh, and she just happened to beat the 2011 U.S. Open champion, Sam Stosur. And let's be fair, Stosur did not play a great game. Had a lot of errors, a lot of balls hitting the nets, but what a great moment for this teenage girl who was ranked 296th in the world to beat a former champion and is advancing to the second round in one of the biggest tournaments in all of tennis and is going to be probably the biggest story going for tennis. And you can't help but root for this woman. I hope she goes all the way, and even though it's a long shot, I want to see her holding that trophy at the end. I will sit and I will watch, if she makes the finals, every serve of that match, because this is a story worth rooting for. So again, I encourage you to look at the articles, to see the video of this girl as she's so excited and she's so flustered, and it's so adorable. Do yourself a favor. You'll feel good about yourself afterwards. And I just want to end with one thing. I've mentioned many a time that I'm in the Chicagoland area, and as much as I like to cover national stories, some of my fellows have asked me to cover more of our local teams. Well, I'm not going to do baseball. Like I said, it's depressing. Although, I will say this for the White Sox. They've won 9 of their last 11, which actually makes me mad. Because you can't go from being mediocre the whole year, eliminating yourself from the playoffs, and all of a sudden, let's turn it on now. That way we won't get a good draft pick. Instead of picking in the top 3, we'll pick in the teens. Yeah. No. Bring up your guys from AAA, get them experience, get your early draft pick, and try this rebuilding thing that we've been hearing so much about. Don't go on a winning streak and take us out of the running for one of the elite draftees. Idiots. Anyway, moving on. The most important story in the Chicagoland area is the Chicago Bears. And there is a lot of things to look forward to and a lot of things to look down upon. And we played it earlier, the Brandon Marshall quotes, saying how he's not happy with his rehab, how it's still hurting, how he's not in a rhythm with the offense yet. For a guy who caught 115 passes last year and your second leading receiver was Matt Forte, who caught 46, you don't want to hear that kind of thing. This guy was our offense, and he's going to be the most important cog going forward because he's the only one that Jay Cutler trusts. And if he can't go, the Bears are in huge trouble. Absolutely gigantic trouble. So, we played it earlier. We're going to do it again. Brandon Marshall, when asked if you're healthy,
you should never be allowed to talk to people.
Don't talk. Just say, doing fine, progressing nicely, and you'll be ready for week 1. And if you're not, you can sit. No one's going to force you to play injured. But don't tell the media that your hip still hurts. You're going to have a target on it, and you're driving the Chicago fans crazy. But, on the bright side, we seem to have an offensive line that works. It's unbelievable. First 3 games, our rookie right guard, who had 11 career games in college and only 4 career starts, allowed 1 pressure. No sacks, no hits, 1 pressure. That's awesome. And for the rest of the nation and any other person out there who follows other sports teams, you don't know how big this is for Chicago fans. We haven't had an offensive line since the 1980s with Jimbo Covert running the show. The Chicago Bears have been a black hole of mediocrity at that line position. I'd honestly think we'd be better if we just lined up in the shotgun with no offensive line and put out 10 receivers and just hope that the quarterback can throw it up in 2 seconds or less. Because I think that kind of mismatch would do us very well because he's not getting any time anyway. But now, we've got something to look forward to. We got Jermon Bushrod from the Saints, former Pro Bowler. Now, we overpaid for him. He is not an elite tackle, but he's a solid tackle. He does his job. He gets in front of the guy, and he doesn't need help from the running backs and tight ends on every single play like Jamarcus Webb. And thank God, Webb pushed to the side. Finally, the coaches have seen what every fan has seen for the past couple of years. He can't play tackle. They've been playing Jordan Mills. Wonderful. Gotta love that. When the coaches and the front office are as smart as the fans. Yes, that's what I love to see. And I'm not being sarcastic. Get Jamarcus Webb out of there. Keep in Jordan Mills. Then, as I said, got right guard Kyle Long, the prodigal son from a Hall of Famer. Hells yeah. And then Garza, very solid center. The only reason he never got more recognition is because he was playing with crap around him. You can't stand out. You can't grow a rose from turd. Let's put it that way. You don't surround a person with mediocrity and expect him to be all pro. But he's a very, very good center. And then Matt Forte, West Coast offense. He's going to be good because this is a running back who doesn't like the ground and pound. What he likes is getting the ball in space. And what does the West Coast offense try to do to you? Get you the ball in space. So now we've got Forte doing what he loves. Screens, passes, shovel passes, pitches, delays, all that fun stuff where he doesn't have to just run into a pile of defenders and hopefully not get himself killed. So there are a lot of good things to look forward to about the Bears. In fact, a lot more so than a certain team like the Jets. And I know I wanted to leave you with some positive stuff. Well, for me, this is really positive because I wrote an article for those of you who follow me on Tumblr and my sports blog about Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is a German word taken from Schaden, which means damage, and Freude, which means joy. It is a mental state in which you take malicious delight in the downfall of others. And we're all guilty of it. At least when I do it, I confine it to sports. And I love seeing the Jets flounder. They've got a quarterback battle between an injured Mark Sanchez, who is one of the worst quarterbacks in history. Statistically, it's true. Of any quarterback that's started 4 or more years, he has got the lowest rating. You can look it up. And the second-round pick, who probably shouldn't have been drafted, Geno Smith. And you know what just got announced? Neither one of them is going to start week 1. Some guy I have never heard of, and I don't even have his name because it was just announced, is going to be starting. I believe his last name is Hill. But it's unbelievable. You got a second-round draft pick who was supposed to overtake Sanchez for the job. Not doing it. His own coach described him as brutal. His own coach publicly called him brutal. And then you've got Sanchez, who is statistically the worst long-term starter in the history of the NFL. 4 years or more, playing a minimum of 12 games. He is the worst. And who's going to control that offense? Chris Ivory, the fourth back who was on the Saints, who they let go? Because they lost Sean Green to the Titans, who's going to be a backup down there. They don't have a tight end. They don't have receivers because Antonio Holmes is still suffering from some ill effects for his feet all offseason. And then that defense worked because it was completely predicated on man-to-man defense. And guess who's not there anymore? Revis. Yeah, Revis Island is now in the South Atlantic. He ain't covering up in the Hudson Bay anymore. So, good luck with that, Rex Ryan. Yeah, at least you'll be happy. Your predecessor, once you're fired this year, is going to get a shot at Jadeveon Clowney next year. So that's one thing to look forward to for your Jets fans. Hey, I did leave you with a positive thought. Jets go 2-14, get to draft Jadeveon Clowney. And with that happy thought, I'm Chris Stanton. You've been listening to the CSBS Sports Edition. I'm available all week. Email me, text me, read my blog. Heck, call this number. I won't answer it, but I'll listen to your message and I'll play it next time on the show. I'm Chris Stanton for the CSBS. And take my advice, do something self-fulfillingly stupid this weekend. Have a good one, everybody.